What is going on, Nav Nation? Welcome back to another video. Many of you have been asking me, PokeNav, what the heck have you been up to over this last year? As many of you know, I ended this channel at the end of 2021 for various different reasons. But many of you have been inquiring with me, haven't really seen me on social media, really haven't seen me within the Pokemon space, and many of you have been asking, hey, give us an update on how things are going. So what I want to do here today is two things. One, I want to give you guys kind of just a breakdown on me in general, just kind of what I've done over 2022, some of the things that I accomplished over this last year, some of the big goals that I hit for myself, kind of give you just a timeline of kind of how the year of 2022 transpired for me. And then secondly, what I want to do is kind of follow that up with the plans that I have for 2023. And that doesn't just include, personal aspirations for things that I'm looking forward to for this year, but also plans for this channel as well as the PokeNav brand in general. So I'm going to answer a lot of questions here today. We're going to talk about things like, again, just some of the goals that I achieved this year. We're going to talk about things like PokeRealm and what happened to that business. I know a lot of you have been inquiring about that, so we'll certainly talk about PokeRealm and give you more context on exactly what happened to that business. And then, as I said, we'll go ahead and finish that up with the plans that I have for this year that I think many of you are going to be really excited about. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to break down just the timeline of 2022. So as you guys know, I put out my last video on this channel on December 31st of 2021, basically saying that I had so much stuff that was going to be going on in 2022 that I really wasn't going to be able to sustain this channel and be able to put out consistent videos for you guys. So really what happened after that, well, the first thing that happened immediately after that is I got COVID, literally like right after the new year. A whole family got COVID and we were all sick for a couple weeks. Nothing serious, none of us got very sick, but for a couple weeks, that's how we started 2022. So it was like, yay, hoorah to the new year. And then after that, I had already accepted a new position, which was another one of the big reasons why I was ending the channel, is that I knew I was going to be working a lot, and that certainly transpired that way. The other big thing was that I wanted to focus a lot of my efforts on PokeRealm and really trying to one, build that business, but two, try to save that business, because I thought it was a great business model and I just was going to try to do my best to save it. And as you guys know, it didn't exactly pan out that way, but we'll get into that here in just a second. So fast forward now, I start my new job in March. And as soon as I start, I immediately go into working 60 to 70 hours a week right off the bat. So March comes around and I'm working 60 to 70 hours a week, trying to get, footing and everything and get acquainted with the new position. For those of you who don't know, I went back into the energy industry for one of the largest power providers in the nation, and I was actually working at a multitude of the different power plants in the Phoenix metro area, really working with their operations, maintenance teams, and really helping them kind of hone and figure out how we are going to be able to sustain this growing population in the state of Arizona. If you don't know, Arizona is one of the fastest growing states in the nation right now, and so they're really having a difficult time in trying to figure out how we're going to provide enough power for this influx of people. So that was really my role, and I was extremely, extremely busy. At the same time, PokeRealm, which we'll get into here in a minute, that I was trying to sustain. It was really becoming apparent at the end of 2021 that there were issues with that company that I was really going to need to focus a lot of my attention on. Now, just to give you a little bit of a synopsis, PokeRealm actually ended up closing at the end of March, on March 31st of 2022. So you combine that with the fact that I started this new position on, I believe it was March 7th. So not only am I working 60 to 70 hours a week, but now I'm also trying to focus on closing down this business, making sure that all orders are getting out to all of our members, all of our customers, needless to say, the month of March was crazy and it was super hectic. Again, I'll get more into PokeRealm here in a moment, give you guys more context on that, especially if you have no idea what I'm talking about. I'll certainly discuss that more in detail. So get done with PokeRealm. That closes up at the end of March. Continue working a lot of hours. Really, for the majority of 2022, I was working a lot, and I was having to be at all of the various different power plants that this power company maintains, which is, over a diameter of, sometimes as much as 70, 80 miles. So it was putting in a lot of time, a lot of hours. The good part about it was really good for the pocketbook. So it was certainly very trying on me physically, mentally, but it also helped me to accomplish one of the big goals that I had set out for myself for this year, which we'll get into that in detail. So basically continue that all the way through around like November-ish. And during this time, really my goal of going back into the energy industry was, one, it was secure, is stable. For you guys that know me well, I'm a pretty analytical person. And I like to look forward into the future. I like to look at the larger macro economy. And as I look forward into 2023, I could really see that we were really poised for a possible deep recession and a possible massive layoff. So I really wanted to get my foot in with an industry that is very solid, very stable. And this was not really the position that I was looking for, but more or less just kind of a foot in the door, with my ultimate goal to get a work from home type of position, which, one, provided me with the flexibility, but also with the security of being in a very stable industry. And basically, that took me, I was doing that all the way through, was applying for a lot of the different hybrid or fully remote positions. And finally, I actually scored a full-time work from home position, but it was actually with a rival, or I shouldn't say really a rival, there's really not rivals in the state of Arizona, but just with another power provider. And actually, I'll be starting that position on Monday. Actually, on January 9th, I will be starting with this new company, and it'll be fully remote, be able to work from home full time, which is just a real blessing. One of the big reasons why I decided to go back to the workforce in the first place was, one, I just like the security of it. Having been kind of an entrepreneur for the last few years and just solely relying on my businesses, I came to realize that there's a lot of pressure in that, but also there's a lot of benefits to having a steady and reliable employer. And I think that for those out there, I had been on the fence before of saying, oh no, you should just go for it, screw employers, just, do it yourself. And what I came to realize, especially when you have a family, is that it can provide a lot of benefits. It can provide both in the form of tangible benefits, in the form of things like insurance, which, if you guys, for those of you out there that are just getting insurance off the marketplace, especially if you have children, super, super expensive and really not that good. As well as just long-term benefits, things like retirement, all those different things. And also, really, in a lot of ways, you can look at it as more of like an angel investor for your business ventures, which is kind of the way that I had been planning it from the beginning, was really using this as that kind of a security net, as well as an angel investor for all the things that I wanted to do. So really happy to announce that I got that new position now, which is really fulfilled a lot of the goals that I had in getting, one, a secure job, a stable job, one that's going to be around for a while, or really, you're always going to need energy, so it's going to be around forever. But then also, giving me that flexibility, the ability to work from home, the ability to have the opportunity to pursue and maintain a lot of the things that I want to achieve as an entrepreneur. So again, just really happy to announce that. And if you guys are interested in maybe hearing more about that, then feel free to reach out to me, maybe over on Instagram. We can talk more about it. So that was basically my timeline of 2022. What I'd like to do before I dive into PokeRealm, which again, I'm going to take a good amount of time to discuss PokeRealm because a lot of people have wanted to know more about that, if I'm ever going to bring it back. And what happened? What was the downfall of PokeRealm? I want to go ahead and discuss some of the big goals that I had achieved over 2022, and I think it's important to do this. Not to like brag, but just to really, give you guys some context on kind of my thinking and the way that I approach financial goals and just kind of life goals in general, and why I do a lot of the things that I do is really to achieve some of these overall goals. So the big goal that I had for myself for 2022 is I wanted to hit the $100,000 milestone. And what I mean by that is I wanted to have $100,000 set aside in our savings account. Now, this doesn't include things like 401k or IRAs or brokerage accounts or anything like that. What I wanted to do is I wanted to have $100,000 ready and able to be deployed in liquid cash. Now, many of you may say, "Well, Pokey, now why you shouldn't just have things sitting in cash." Well, the reason that I really had this goal in mind, if you guys look at one of the big brains of investing, Charlie Munger, who is the partner of Warren Buffett in Berkshire Hathaway, you will see that in his eyes, the hardest number to hit is $100,000. Once you can get over the hump of $100,000, the next step to the next threshold to 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 is much easier, because if you're investing that or you're putting it towards business or what have you, it's a lot easier to grow at a more exponential rate once you've crossed that threshold. So that was one of the big goals that I hit for myself for this year, was getting that $100,000 set aside. And the reason being is that I think that 2023 is going to have a huge amount of opportunities. Now, you just heard me discuss things like recession, layoffs, all those different things, and many people would look at that and say, this is not a time to be investing. This is not a time to be putting money out there. You should just save that. But in actuality, the best time and the most wealth that is made is during times of crashes, of recessions, times of dire straits, really. And I think that across the board, whether that's stocks, whether that's real estate, whether that's crypto, whether that's Pokemon, I think that there's going to be a lot of opportunities that are poised for 2023. And I think having the liquid assets, the liquid cash available to really jump on that when the opportunity is right, I think is really important. If you guys want to know more about how I was able to achieve that in really such a short amount of time, feel free to reach out to me, or if you want, I can maybe discuss that in another video, which is one of the things that I kind of like to do, kind of getting ahead of myself and plans for this year, is talk more about just kind of personal finance and finance in general. I've told you guys before that I was a former financial advisor, and really personal finance and analytics and all of these things have always been a part of me. My parents were entrepreneurs, and this is just something that has always been a part of my character. So if you guys want to know more about that, that's certainly something that I kind of want to bring to the table in 2023. But also, if you guys are more interested, you can reach out to me and maybe learn more on how I was able to do that in a short amount of time. The next one was obviously let me rephrase that, to get the work from home position. Again, I really wanted this to provide the flexibility to, one, take care of my family, be able to provide for them in a meaningful way, be employed in an industry that is very reliable and secure, but then also to have the flexibility to be able to pursue a lot of the other goals that I have for myself as an entrepreneur. So that was the other big one, which we got to the end of December, finally got that position after a lot of hard work, a lot of interviewing, finally got that work from home position. So very, very happy about that. And then the other one was to allow for my wife to stay home with our kids. After the birth of our son, my wife had really discussed wanting to be able to stay home with our children, really to be more of a homemaker and really be there for them on a more frequent basis. So that was my other big goal, is to find a position that, again, gave me the flexibility and all that, but also gave us the means to allow her to be able to do that. And really the big thing came down to insurance. Again, I'm going to harp on it. Insurance is so important, especially when you have a family and young kids. They get sick all of the time. They're just little germ magnets. And I found that for me personally, not having insurance for years, while I was an entrepreneur, come to realize just how important that is, especially as I'm getting older, and for my family in general. So happy to announce that my wife is also going to be staying home with our kids. She's already starting to get a little bit of like that entrepreneur bug to her, which I love to see. She's been talking about maybe things that she can do while she's home, just different opportunities that she's been looking at. So that's really fun to see as well. And I'm happy that we were finally able to do that she's finally able to be home with our kids. I'm going to be able to be home with our kids as well after just working so much over 2022. Happy to finally be home with them, in this fully remote position. And again, just very thankful to my new employer for being able to offer that opportunity as well. So, okay, now that we've got through all of that, before I get into the plans for 2023, if I haven't bored you guys already, again, you can go ahead and jump to this chapter now. Let's go ahead and talk about PokeRealm. Okay, so again, a lot of you guys have been asking about this. Let me go ahead and first give some background if you have no idea what I'm talking about in regards to PokeRealm. So PokeRealm is a business that I started back in July of, I believe, I think it was 2021? Yeah, 2021, July of 2021. This was a business that I had formed with actually a local card store owner, and really the premise behind this business model. If you guys are familiar with like modern products, the way that you build a business around that traditionally is you buy from a distributor at wholesale cost, you then sell at MSRP, and you reap the margins in between. That's typically how most people build a business around trading cards, and more specifically Pokemon cards in general. Well, for me personally, I really didn't want to just dive into that large pool of online sellers. So instead, what I had the idea for is, instead of working off of margins, let's work off of a membership model. So if you guys are familiar with Costco, it's very similar to Costco in that for Costco, you're able to buy products at wholesale cost or close to wholesale cost in bulk. And in doing so, you pay Costco a membership fee to have access to those products and be able to reap the savings on that. So I thought to myself, why not employ a similar business model within the Pokemon space? Especially during the year of 2021, all of the distributors were closed to new accounts. Even for brick and mortar stores, they weren't allowing any new accounts. Products were super expensive because of the supply issues during the pandemic. So I really saw that as an opportunity to, one, provide people with a lot of savings on product, and two, to really redefine what that business model was around selling Pokemon cards. So at the time, I did not have a distributor that I worked with, but I did know a particular individual who owned a card store that had access to distributors, obviously, for his store. So I teamed up with him, and we were able to kind of build out this business model of creating a membership-based model where members were able to buy products at wholesale cost. Basically, what we pay for the product is what you pay for the product, and in return, they pay a monthly membership to us. However, so when we started this in July of 2021, we started off, things were going really good. Now, I should also back up and say that prior to partnering with this individual together in the business, I had actually started a previous business of my own. So I was actually just buying products from him. He was allocating me those, and then I had about 100 members as part of what was called the PokeNav Wholesale Club. So I really started this on my own. And then he approached me and said, hey, maybe we can go ahead and scale this and really, open it up to more people. So in a nutshell, I teamed up with them, and in July of 2021, we ended up opening up to more members. Now, we just didn't include Pokemon, but we really included pretty much all the TCGs. So Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, Digimon, just pretty much everything. So we opened that up in July of 2021, took the original 100 members that I had built, and then we ended up adding about another 150 or so members on top of that when we launched the business itself, which became known as PokeRealm. And in the beginning, things were really good. Things were going great. We were getting people products that they otherwise weren't able to find anywhere else. We were selling booster boxes, like for instance with Pokemon, we were selling booster boxes for $89, which nowadays so some of that may not seem like that big of a deal, but back then, getting Evolving Skies booster boxes for $89, $90 when they were selling for 150, 160, $170. I mean, it was a huge savings for a lot of people. So things were going really well in the beginning, but then as we got to the end of 2021, it became pretty apparent to me that there were a lot of deep-seated issues, really within the business model, but really over the macro economy that were really going to hinder our progress moving forward. So a couple of the big ones that I want to talk about here that kind of ultimately led to its demise. One was the supply chain issues. At that time, the supply chain, because of the pandemic, was just getting worse and worse. It seemed like it was going to turn the corner, and then it just started to get worse and worse. Things like uh, just the barges that were coming into the ports of Los Angeles or San Francisco, where a lot of these products would come from China, which obviously you knew China, even still today, is on many lockdowns and is really hindering a lot of the global supply chain. But a lot of those were sitting in harbors for days or weeks, and it was just backlogging so much of the supply chain that at some point, I think around like Fusion Strike, after release, our customers were waiting as much as a month before they could even get their products. And that was waiting as much as a month for us to even receive that, to package it, and then send it out to them. Then on top of that, as we got into early 2021, you had the invasion of Ukraine from Russia, which just exploded the price of transportation, of oil, gas, all of these different things, which cut down on the ability to transfer products even more. And so just the supply chain issues just got so bad that it was just cutting into the amount of products that we could actually get and get in a timely manner. And then the other big one was the allocations on products. They just kept getting worse and worse. Again, at one point in around late summer, it appeared that the supply of products and the allocations of products was getting better. But then as we got to the tail end of 2021 and then into 2022, they just kept getting cut more and more and more. And for a business model that was really built upon being able to provide members with the amount of products that they wanted, right? We didn't want to have to allocate and cut and place limits on what they could buy. And really, that's the way that it ended up, because the allocations for us as a third-party seller just kept getting cut more and more from the distributor. And it ended up to where the members themselves were not able to get the amount of products that they wanted, and sometimes not even be able to get a product upon release. And it all kind of transpired in such a way where by the end of 2021, I was really like, this is not right. It's not right to the members. It's not right to the people who believe in us. This is really something that I think for at least the foreseeable future is going to be really difficult to overcome. So those were some of the larger, again, things that were kind of out of our hands, macroeconomic issues that really hindered the ability to succeed and to really prosper in this particular business model. Now, with that all being said, there's also some things that some mistakes that were made that I have to own up to as well, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who was the face of this channel, face of this business, and for people that believed in me and the business model, also mistakes that I have to own up to as well. One is that, to be honest, we allowed too many members to sign up upon opening the business. That became apparent within about 4 or 5 months of opening up the business. And what I mean by that is I think that when we opened it, we probably should have just kept the initial 100 members and then staggered the amount that were able to sign up. And perhaps maybe 25 people at a time. But what I found is that we allowed about another 150 to 200 members to sign up at that point. And what it did is it really put a lot of downward pressure on the amount of products as those macroeconomic issues started to get worse. It put so much pressure on trying to allow us to provide enough products to everyone. Now, we did try to compensate for that by changing tiers, right? So the overall tier was $50 a month for a membership, which gave you access to every single product in the store. We found that there were members who just wanted to buy Pokemon, so we changed it down to, I believe, $35 a month for people who just wanted to purchase Pokemon to try to compensate for some of those issues, which some people found that helpful, some of them didn't. But I think if again, to go back and look at it again in retrospect, we should have staggered that a lot more thoughtfully than what we did, and just kind of opening it up to all those members all at once. So again, that's something that I have to own up to in really understanding the mistakes that were made on my part and on the business part. Um, because again, it didn't allow for members to always get the quantity of products that they wanted, and sometimes even, especially kind of at the tail end, to really even get a new release for a particular product that they were wanting. So again, that I take the onus for that, and I take the responsibility for making those decisions. The next one is that the other thing I have to own up to is that the partnership I had formed was not always on the same page. So what I mean by that is that very often, what I found in my experience is that when you do get into a business partnership with somebody, you have to have very clear-cut guidelines on exactly how that particular business is going to operate, especially for this particular instance where we had this business that we had together, but there was also, for my business partner, he also had a brick and mortar store that he was concerned about as well, for good reason. This was, really allowed us to be able to start this in the first place. But what we found is that over time, while perhaps maybe I wanted to focus more of the efforts on PokeRealm, he wanted to kind of focus some of those more efforts on the store itself, right? And so there were times where it was kind of at odds. And what I learned from that is, one, I don't think that I'll ever go into a partnership again, to be honest with you. I don't think that I'll go into business for anyone, with anyone else, because I like to have complete control, and I like to live and die by my own decisions, right? I want to reap the successes, but also the consequences of the decisions. And when portions of that are really out of my control, there's nothing that I can do at that point. So I've learned that I think for me personally, in business in general, I want to have the control of that, so that in the end I can make the best decision for myself and for my customers. So that's the other big thing that I think that I have to own up to, is that the partnership itself, while it was great, and while we were able to accomplish a lot, at times it was at odds with each other, with the various businesses that were kind of involved. It was at odds with each other. And to go back and do it again, I think that for me personally, I think to go back and look at it in hindsight, probably would have just stayed the course with my original 100 members with the PokeNav Wholesale Club, and then just kind of built from there. But really, my goal was really to try to help as many people as possibly could, especially during a time where it was so difficult to get products. Products were outrageously expensive. It was really, to me, a way to redefine the business model of selling Pokemon cards, especially modern cards, as well as all the other TCGs, and really opening up that scape and opening up new avenues of TCGs for people within the community. But yeah, those are definitely things I think that I have to own up to, mistakes that were made on my part. And it certainly was a great learning experience. I think that overall, I truly believe that the majority of people who were involved in PokeRealm, the majority of the members found it really helpful. When we finally did in the business, we got a ton of emails from members, saying, "Hey, I'm really sorry. This was really able to help out my collection a lot." Not just the collection, but people were actually able to make a lot of money off of us as well. People who were buying from us at deep discounts, who are selling on their eBay pages, they're selling on Mercari, selling on their own websites. We even helped out content creators and giving them the ability to create more content because they were able to save so much on products. So I think overall, I think the majority of people who had signed up, who had believed in us, who are members of PokeRealm, really found it very helpful. I think, obviously there were those out there that didn't find it beneficial to them, and that's okay too. And over that course of time, I was able to get a lot of good feedback from both sides, negative feedback, positive feedback, and really be able to think about that. And that's the next thing that I want to get to, is that I learned a lot from that experience, learned a lot from building a business in that manner, because it had never been done before, and it hasn't since, of being able to create this kind of membership model around Pokemon cards, which is trading cards in general. And I'll be honest with you, I still believe in the business model. I still truly believe in it. I think that it is a way to really separate yourself from the larger pool of people. And I think, again, which I'll get into here in a moment, but the opportunities that are going to be presented in 2023, I think this is one of them. As distributors are starting to open up to new accounts, as many people are leaving the hobby, as a lot of brick and mortar stores are closing down, online stores are closing down, I think that this will be a prime opportunity in 2023 to perhaps revitalize this and to really do it in a really good way, to really provide this sort of business model to the larger audience, and to do it right. Not to say that it wasn't done right the first time, but to really learn from a lot of those mistakes and really mitigate a lot of that and provide just the absolute best experience for customers. And again, I had a whole year to really think about the successes and the failures of PokeRealm, the things that were done right, the things that were done wrong, the lessons learned over that time. And I think that, again, I'm happy to announce that this is certainly something that I will be attempting to pursue once again in 2023. Obviously, there'll have to be um, a lot of things that have to come into play in order to make this work. I obviously will have to get back in with a distributor. I'll obviously have to be able to get the adequate products, which I think is certainly a reasonable thing to consider. And but I do think that this opportunity is there this year, and it's something that I will definitely be looking to pursue. So I hope that gives you guys a little bit more context on PokeRealm. I know a lot of you have been talking about that. If you have more questions on it, feel free to leave a comment down below. I'll be happy to discuss it more. I know I probably didn't get into everything here today, but before I end on this particular segment, what I do want to say is I want to thank all of the members who have believed in us. We did send out a final email to all of the members. I believe it was on maybe the end of February, beginning of March, just letting them know we were going to close down the business and thanking them for believing in us, believing in the business. I just want to, again, I want to thank all of you guys once again. And I can tell you that as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, I learned a lot from this experience. And should it come back again, I can tell you right now, it'll come back bigger and better than ever. I will be at the helm. I will control all of it. And I will make sure that I provide you with the absolute best experience that I possibly can, should that opportunity arise once again. So there you go, guys. That is PokeRealm. Let's see, what else do I have? I got a bunch of stuff that I planned on talking about here today. Last one, I guess we'll go ahead and get to the plans for 2023. These are personal plans, opportunities that I see, and then also the plans that I have for this channel and the PokeNav brand. So let's go ahead and get right into it. First big plan, above all else, got to get settled into my new position in this role. That is numero uno, and that is my main responsibility at this point, is to make sure that I am putting forth my best efforts in this position and really solidifying myself in this new role. So that'll be topic number one, and that'll be my main focus initially. However, once that actually happens, we get comfortable, everything's going good. I'll tell you guys right now, I want to reignite the PokeNav brand. And what do I mean by that, reignite the PokeNav brand? I think that a lot of the things that I have in mind, a lot of the ideas that I see in the Pokemon space, in the collectibles space, I see, again, a lot of opportunities here, a lot of ways to make a deep impact on the community. And really, my main idea here for reigniting this brand is to start over. I think that if you want to start over, the new year is a great time to do that. New year, new opportunities, and so I'd really like to start over from the beginning and really take you guys on that journey of building this PokeNav brand into a successful business that is well admired. And really, my idea for that is just documenting it all along the way, starting from scratch with $0. This is how I would build a successful business related to Pokemon cards. Not just, or I shouldn't say just with Pokemon cards, but just with Pokemon in general. This is my plan to do that, and just really help to show you guys along the way in detail every step that I make along the way, of building capital, of expanding and investing in particular products, of venturing into and building different revenue sources, really detailing all of that along the way and showing you guys and being very transparent, very honest, very upfront in exactly how I'm doing that, my plans for that, and then just giving you guys my successes, my failures along the way, just so that you guys can really be on that ride along with me. Along with that, I do want to get back into the space of becoming more involved on the channel. Obviously, that would be kind of a whole series, but really talking about more of how my mindset on certain things have changed within Pokemon, opportunities that I see, kind of how my maybe investing philosophy has changed, which it certainly has, and kind of giving you guys perspective on why it's changed, and really how I foresee the long-term future and viability of the Pokemon card hobby. So that's kind of what I envision for when I say reigniting the PokeNav brand. Is really starting over, starting from scratch, starting again with $0. How do you build a successful business starting with absolutely nothing? Starting where many of you would start if you were to go on this path, and really giving you guys perspective on how I would do things, learning from others within the community, giving you perspective on things that I learned from them that helped me on that journey, and just kind of detailing everything along the way to really assist you all in your journey as well. So that's kind of my plan there. In the meantime, what I will say is, in the meantime, before all of that gets rolling, perhaps over the next few months, while I'm getting solidified in my new position and kind of getting prepared for this, I'll be building out the business plan. I'll be collaborating a lot more on YouTube and other avenues with other people out there in the community on how I can best start and best build this into a very successful thing. Because I can tell you guys right now, when I do something, I don't do it small, and I really want to turn this PokeNav brand into, again, something that is admired, something that is successful, and that ultimately helps the most people in the most egalitarian type of way. So that's what I'll be doing over the next few months, but hopefully you guys are looking forward to seeing that come about as we move on through 2023 and seeing that journey along the way. The last thing that I'll talk about here we are, we're about 40 minutes in on this video. I told you it was going to be a long one. The last thing that I want to talk about here is just some of the opportunities that I see this year. This is my other big plan for 2023, is to really be well positioned and capitalize on opportunities. I really do think this is going to be a very pivotal point in building real wealth and real opportunity and success moving on in the future. I don't think that if you look historically and you look at it statistically, moments like this don't come around that often. And again, I can talk more about this in a broader sense if you guys are interested. But I think across the board, real estate, stocks, crypto, Pokemon, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities this year. Warren Buffett is credited as saying, never let a good crisis go to waste, right? And this is going to be a year where I think you're going to separate a lot of sheep from the lions. And it really just depends on what side of the fence you want to reside on, because you can follow the masses and you can follow the fear mongering, or you can really look at it, educate yourself, and see that there's a lot of opportunities this year. Probably the most opportunities that, to be honest, we may see it in our lifetime. So those I'm definitely looking to capitalize on. I can also document that along the way, some of the plays that I'm making, some of the things that I really looking forward to this year, and that I plan on incorporating into my overall investing business strategy. So again, let me know down in the comments below if you guys are interested in something like that. Probably, again, as we start to reignite this brand and the channel especially, I might include that as maybe its own section if you guys are interested in diving deeper into things like personal finance, investing, things that are not just related to Pokemon, but larger macroeconomy and larger investing topics and finance topics in general. So guys, I think that's going to do it for today. Again, I know it's a long video, very detailed, but there were a lot of topics that I wanted to talk about here today. A lot of things that I wanted to, just kind of throw out there. I hope you guys have enjoyed this conversation, and I hope you're excited for things to come. I hope you're excited to see what happens on this channel with the PokeNav brand. I hope you've gotten a deeper understanding of some of the deeper questions that you've had about me, or just things that I've done, and things like PokeRealm, or opportunities that I've been a part of, things that I've accomplished, and really where we're headed into this year. So again, if you have any further questions, reach out to me via DM on Instagram, or feel free to reach out to me via the comments down below. Other than that, guys, I will see you all next time. My name is PokeNav. I'm here to help you navigate the world of Pokemon one video at a time. I will see you all in the next video.